Okay, let's talk about Richard Feynman. You've probably heard the name. He was a physicist, sure, but also a teacher, an adventurer, a total original. What we're going to explore is what made him this absolute scientific and cultural icon. What was the secret to his genius?
I mean, on paper, the guy's credentials were just staggering. He won the Nobel Prize in Physics back in '65 for his work in quantum electrodynamics. And that's, well, it's basically the theory of how light and matter get along at the tiniest, most fundamental level. This work didn't just add to our understanding of reality, it completely reshaped it.
And even before that, during World War II, he was one of the key junior physicists on the Manhattan Project. So here's this brilliant young guy helping develop the atomic bomb, working in a sea of absolute giants like Niels Bohr and Enrico Fermi.
But see, that's only half the story. This same Nobel laureate was also a notorious prankster, an artist, a bongo player, and get this, a master safecracker. He wrote all about these adventures in his wild best-selling autobiography, Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman.
So, you have to wonder, what was the real story behind this brilliant, eccentric, and just utterly unique mind? How did a kid from Queens, New York, grow up to become one of the most important thinkers of the entire 20th century?
Well, Feynman's journey really starts not in a fancy school, but with a philosophy he got from his dad, who was a businessman with this really deep, personal interest in science.
From a super young age, Feynman was just driven by this relentless curiosity. His father taught him to observe everything, to question everything, and to value actually understanding something over just, knowing its name. He taught himself calculus as a kid and fell in love with these deep, beautiful ideas in physics, like the principle of least action, this mind-bending idea that nature always finds the most efficient path. That one idea fascinated him for his entire life.
And that quote says it all, right? For him, this wasn't about getting good grades or being ambitious. For Feynman, science was the ultimate form of play. It was a game, a puzzle. It was just a way to have fun with the universe.
And this playful approach, it wasn't just some quirky part of his personality. It was the very engine that let him completely revolutionize theoretical physics.
So, when he was faced with these incredibly complicated problems in quantum electrodynamics, he didn't just solve them, he invented a whole new language to talk about them. He came up with these things called Feynman diagrams. They're basically simple, intuitive pictures that let physicists see and calculate how particles interact. It turned pages of dense, abstract math into something you could literally sketch on a napkin.
But the scientific establishment, they weren't exactly ready for this radical new way of thinking. You had titans of physics, guys like Niels Bohr and Paul Dirac, who at first just dismissed his methods. They said they were just pictures, not real physics. They just couldn't see that he'd found a deeper, more intuitive truth.
Now this is great because it really shows the culture clash he represented. You can see it perfectly in his famous rivalry at Caltech with the equally brilliant Murray Gell-Mann. Feynman was the casual, intuitive, bongo-playing genius who drove around in a van with his diagrams painted on the side. Gell-Mann was the proper, orderly scholar who named the quark. It was like two totally different styles of genius, constantly pushing each other.
But Feynman's impact, it wasn't just stuck in the ivory tower of theoretical physics. He had this rare, amazing gift for making the most complex ideas crystal clear to absolutely everyone.
His legendary lectures at Caltech completely upended physics education. Instead of just hammering students with equations, he focused on building an intuitive feel for the subject first. He used analogies, he told stories, and he had this infectious enthusiasm that just showed them the beauty and the real excitement of physics. Those lectures are still considered an absolute masterpiece today.
And that incredible ability he had to find the simple truth, it wasn't just for students. In 1986, the entire nation was going to need it. After the tragic Space Shuttle Challenger disaster, Feynman was put on the Presidential Commission to figure out what happened. And while the rest of the commission was getting tangled up in bureaucracy and confusing reports, well, Feynman just went his own way. And this right here, this is pure Feynman. During a televised hearing, he did a dead simple experiment. He took a piece of the shuttle's O-ring material, dunked it in a glass of ice water right there on camera, and showed everyone watching how it got brittle and lost its seal. In one simple dramatic moment, he cut through all the noise and proved the cause of the failure to the entire world.
And this is exactly why Feynman's legacy is so much more than just his physics. It's a whole approach to thinking, to solving problems, to life, really.
This kind of irreverent, curious perspective was there right to the very, very end.
After a long fight with cancer, his last words were reportedly, "I'd hate to die twice. It's so boring."
His peers, great physicists like Freeman Dyson, they saw it. They knew his true genius was in his absolute intellectual honesty. The man hated pretense. He hated jargon. He believed in the power of doubt, of thinking for yourself, and maybe most importantly, of always being willing to admit when you don't know something.
And this is really what he wanted to share with all of us. He believed the ultimate goal of science wasn't just to build stuff or solve problems, it was to take part in what he called the greatest adventure that men have ever had, the adventure of just trying to understand our universe.
So in the end, Richard Feynman showed us that a relentless curiosity, a deep-seated intellectual honesty, and a profound sense of fun, well, they aren't just personality quirks. They just might be the most powerful tools we have for unlocking the deepest secrets of the universe.